Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome one and all to this afternoon's non-farm payroll live trading event. Hope you're doing well out there, and apologies for running a minute behind. Been very, very busy boy this afternoon, but here I am, ready to rock and roll for this afternoon's shenanigans. So, as I've already alluded to, we will unfortunately probably not be looking at some sort of major news event this afternoon. I did tell my everyday traders, the UTC guys, that if they, to all due respect, if they didn't want to turn up this afternoon and enjoy their Friday afternoon to themselves or doing whatever else they want to do, then they could probably end up doing that without too much of a loss, too much of a feeling of loss from this afternoon's price action. But we always like holding the NFP sessions regardless, just because they can be a good bit of fun. From now and again. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. Might turn out to be a relatively interesting event. It may not, but we'll just see how it goes. Nevertheless, we'll be here. We're streaming it live, and that's the best we can do. So this afternoon then, looking at the numbers, we've got about 12 minutes to go before the NFP actually is released. And looking at the numbers so far, bear with me. Looking at the numbers so far, we've got average hourly earnings at 0.3, a 0.1% uptick from the previous figure. That's 0.2 number. We've got the non-farm payrolls themselves at an 85k print, down from 115k prior. And we have the US unemployment rate at 4.3%, which is exactly the same as it was last time. Looking at the average hourly earnings for the annual average hourly earnings, we're at 3.4. which is a 0.2% reduction over the previous figure. And we have a 61.8 participation rate. So it's really, really stable figures out there, ladies and gents. Super stable. Good afternoon to you, Core Team. Good to see you. So yeah, very, very stable numbers, which obviously does not lend itself to volatility strikes or anything exciting in terms of price action. But like I say, we already know it's probably not going to be too much of an event this afternoon, so we're just going to try and make the most of it. Now, the unemployment rate for Canada is at 6.9, and the employment change is at 10.6, which is significantly higher than what it was last time. The employment change was minus 17.7k the previous month, and this time around they're looking at plus 10.6. So I'm kind of anticipating there to be a relatively bullish move in the Canadian dollar. And looking at these numbers in the US, they look quite weak. They look like they're softening off or continuing with the downward trend. It probably will be a bearish impact for the USD. So then that brings me to the USD versus the Canadian dollar, because I think this one could potentially be quite the event for this afternoon. Now, if the Canadian dollar is looking quite bullish and the US dollar is looking quite bearish from this afternoon's figures, we are, of course, going to be considering shorting the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And we are at a position at the moment where it looks pretty good to do so. We've actually got low number 1, low number 2, and we actually bring that back further. We got the break close retest that took place here as well. We have the full 1, 2, 3. And now of course, we've got the retest, which is taking place over on the far right here as well. So we've got these really nice points. I'm thinking we could look at an intraday move down to, for example, 138.50, which isn't really a far jump away from where we are at the moment. Just bring a break of structure point across there and look at the short target and the stop loss at around here for a 1 to 38 point. Yeah, well, it's a 1 to 3.1 with the stop loss at 138.80. So not too bad. That would be trade idea number 1. Trade idea number 2 for the afternoon. Let's have a look at the Euro USD. Okay, so if the dollar's looking quite bearish, the euro currently relatively supportive. That means we're probably looking at a bid in the euro versus the US dollar this afternoon. But it would be good to have opportunity on both sides of the market on this one. Now, in terms of getting a bid, I mean, the Euro USD doesn't look that great, does it? We've got the high there, which would be a decent break of structure point, of course. But then it's followed up directly after by this high. And that high is immediately in the way.
So we're running a bit of bad luck here for longs in the Euro USD because there's a lot of liquidity above price action. The path release resistance really takes place when we smash the walls of 116.50 and then of course go for the long up there. So that's quite nice, but we have to make it through 1, 2, and 3 before we get to that path of least resistance, which unfortunately doesn't really, it's not really conducive to our afternoon in what we're expecting to happen from this NFP event, which, for the most part, we're kind of anticipating a non-impact event. So with that in mind, we're still going to be able to look at the short. We've got running up through the bottom here, which looks okay. So we'll be looking to clear away the margin there. Right, so we've got the break close retest. We've got 1, 2 margin between that area there and the ascending level. Entry, target, stop loss, 1 to 2.64. Something like that. Now let's go back down to the USD CAD for a moment. We got the short. What about the long? When we get a move above this area here, to be fair, guys, there is actually long availability, isn't there? Right? We're not going to go to the extreme high, of course, but for all intents and purposes, there is a really healthy break of structure right there. And a really nice path of least resistance, isn't there? The PLR is definitely on side for this one. So if we get a surprise in the numbers, it would certainly be worth looking at the USD CAD for a long for another 1 to 3 on the other side. Now let's have a quick look at metals. How are we doing for time? We've got 6 minutes to go. Plenty of time. So looking at gold at the moment, been range bound all week long. And frankly, guys, I mean, I'm the first person to start loading up on gold orders during an NFP event. But I gotta be honest, I'm not really seeing it this time around. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm not really seeing it this time around. The market's currently trading at 44.68. Got a potential high target of around 45.20. That's the median of this margin. It's not that big though, is it? We pull the breaker structure point across there, and then we look at the structural point up at the highs there for the target profit. That's really what it boils down to. And this is on the proviso that the dollar trades off. So I suppose we could say that this here is going to be our trade. Another nice little 1 to 3. But if the market goes short, if gold goes short because the dollar gets some decent data, then we're not going to be able to be in it. Energy markets not overly fussed, so I'll leave those ones go for the time being. And then we've got our US indices. So US 30 Dow Jones, which had an absolutely whopping day yesterday. The NAS 100. And the Standard & Poor's. I'm just having a quick scan around to see if anything's immediately jumping out. I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think it is. So the NAS 100 short is clear as day. That's going to be the breaker structure point there, isn't it? So then we're going to look at the entry target down at big liquidity, obviously, and the stop loss at the 50% point, which is going to yield a 1 to 3.34. So that's not bad. Don't like the long in the NAS though, so we're going to have to rely upon the Dow Jones for a long. Great. Well, I mean, look, it's pretty straightforward because all we're looking at is the break close retest and then a fixed 1 to 2. So wherever that may be, we don't know where it's going to be. But something like this, I would guess. But remember, guys, that in order to trade all-time highs, we continuously need to see a fresh BCR of the previous technical level. So the market does need a break up, retest, and then continue. Then what we have to do is take into consideration the time of day where we're going to be looking at this one and say to ourselves, what are the actual realistic chances that the market is going to complete that obviously weekend, which is something that we need to think about. But again, we can come on to that, I suppose. Right, we've currently got 3 minutes to go. Nah, less than that, 2 minutes to go. I know it's not going to be long enough for you to punch the numbers in on everything, but here you go. Nevertheless, let's try and get the numbers punched in on as many as possible. To be honest, if you've got quick typing fingers, then you should be all right. I'm not going to punch the numbers in on the US 30 Dow Jones. I am going to punch the numbers in on the NAS 100. I'm going to punch the numbers in on gold. And I'm going to punch the numbers in on the USD CAD. Looks like the long on the USD CAD. Looks like we've got some front running, team. It looks like we've got some front running. Right, let me get a thing going here. Alright, get ready for it here, guys. Literally 10 seconds to go. I'm going to have to market order these USD CAD trades. Get ready for it. Wow, okay, so we've got average hourly earnings 0.3 as expected. Okay, so there's no surprise there. Very big surprise on the non-farm payroll though, 172. Above a 85k previous figure. That's a 179k previous figure. The 85k was the forecast, and when we got a 172. So to be fair, this is complete stability. It is definitely a surprise to the markets because obviously there was going to be a lot of the market priced in on the forecast, but this is total stability. Unemployment rate is unchanged as well. The non-farm payroll number is unchanged. And we have average hourly earnings, which are unchanged. We have three numbers which are exactly the same as last time, pretty much. The Canadian dollar unemployment rate, 6.6%, so big reduction there. Employment change, 87.8k. Go CAD. So certainly a very positive number for the Canadian dollar there. Really, really big beat on the numbers. We got the private non-farm payroll at 120k as well, which is a slight reduction over the previous figure, but nothing to shout home about. So as I mentioned, team, very, very stable numbers all around here. The Canadian dollar was the only one that we called and got an outlier on that one, 87.8k, which is a really significant positive number over the previous one. I will just send you guys the data here for a moment. There you go. No, copy. There we go. Paste. Yeah, so that's that. Now looking across at the market and what the market's been doing, we've got the US 30 Dow Jones completely unaffected. We've got the NAS 100 completely unaffected. We've got gold at the moment, which has got a little bit of a 15-minute bar starting to form here, but relatively unchanged. And then we've got the Euro USD, which has really nicely come down to target profit on that one. So that one's really decent. I will confirm the slippage in a moment. And yes, I definitely did get affected by it. I think it was about 3 pips or so on the slippage on that one, but still really nice, healthy risk reward. So that was decent. And then finally, we've got the USD CAD, which is here. Now, these are market order trade ideas. I haven't taken anything yet. I would like to take a short in the USD CAD. But I'm kind of just sitting on my hands at this moment in time, guys. The US dollar data is so stable. We're really reliant upon the Canadian dollar's employment change data alone to be able to push us down to 138.50, and I'm not too confident. So I'm thinking I'm going to sit on my hands on this one actually, and be happy with a small in the Euro USD. So where are we at? What was it? 316, 314. Oh, whoops.
So yeah, that was the Euro USD trade confirmed, a 1 to 2.1. Which, look, honestly, that's not actually that bad. It's not actually that bad. I'm happy with that. That is a really nice little trade for the tank on a Friday afternoon. So definitely happy with that one. Nothing else is moving really. Nothing at all. So what I would say is what you can do at least is look at this afternoon's US Open and use these trade ideas as a as a sort of as a marker for what you can get up to this afternoon. That's what I'd be doing. Yeah, I'm definitely not taking those USD CAD trades. Really, really decent USD CAD number, but it's not enough on its own. We would have needed the NFP to work with us on this one, and it just didn't, unfortunately. But that's all right. That's okay. All right then, ladies and gents. Well, that is really, yeah. I mean, look, we anticipated this, didn't we? You know, we did. We anticipated it. So, looking at the numbers again, I mean, there's not going to be any additional pressure or anything on the Fed from these numbers. If anything, the Fed's going to be able to take a breather. This is a sigh of relief for the Fed. We've got non-farm payrolls at 172, and that's under a 179 previous figure. Complete employment stability. We've got average hourly earnings, which are completely stable. We've got unemployment rates, which are completely stable. Just above the Fed's sort of mandated target, but again, team, this is only a tiny little fractional percentage above. I mean, this is not some bad data for the US. This is actually relatively supportive of what the Fed's done and what the Fed aims to do. So there's just not too much the markets are going to do as a result. There's not too much the Fed are going to need to do as a result, and there's no kind of key forward-looking indicators here as to, of course, what the next interest rate decision event is going to hold. Now, of course, next week we do have the CPI live trading event. That is on Tuesday, I want to say, for the US. So please be aware of that one. Tune in for that if you want to, which should be pretty good. The CPIs I've felt sort of at least over the last couple of years have been historically now, dare I say, significantly better than the non-farm payroll event themselves. So that one will probably be a little bit more fun to watch, I would say. And yeah, we can kind of take it from there. And obviously, this is all building into the pipeline of what the new Fed chair is going to be all about, and what his sort of tactics are going to be. Or what he's going to do as a result of looking at the data is ultimately what I was trying to say there. So we do have that all up and coming, and yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing it then. I will be around for the rest of the day, obviously looking at the US Open this afternoon as well. It will be the last one for me this week. So probably spend about an hour on the US Open, and that'll be it. I'll be working on the end of week admin and then getting things wrapped up for the weekend. If you do need me or anything, please feel free. I am here. So if there's any questions or anything that you'd like to know or anything that I can help you with, please don't hesitate to ask. And yeah, that's about it, team. So I'm going to wish you all the best of luck. Have a great weekend. Good couple of days away, and I look forward to catching up with you after the weekend. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.